So more than a year after Polar launched their Whoop-like competitor, they are finally allowing you to buy that Whoop-like competitor, well, at least in a few months. I'm going to dive into all the details here, but about a year ago, back in April of 2024, Polar announced their Polar 360 band. This band was designed to be very much like a Whoop band. You can see I've got a Whoop band up here, or some of the other bands that are on the market today that track sleep activity, including workout activity, and then combine that into their app and do that without any sort of screen whatsoever, again, just like the Whoop band. In the case of Polar's 360 band, that was a one-time purchase of the hardware, and then the entire platform was free. Now, the catch with the Polar 360 band, though, up until now, is that it was business-focused only. So if you had a business, you could order that. Ideally, Polar was going for like larger businesses that had then integrated systems that pulled the data in, did all sorts of creative stuff. On their website, you can see all these different ideas they had. I don't know whether or not those actually came to fruition at the scale that they wanted, but nonetheless, it was there, and some readers have actually had their businesses purchase them, albeit I think they were like three-person businesses, but it's out there, and it's been a product now for a little while. But today's announcement shifts things, at least it shifts them to September. So Polar's announced coming September 3rd, they will now start selling a consumer version of this thing to you consumers. And most notably, it will not have a subscription cost, something people were wondering whether or not they would have. Now, beyond that, the details are reasonably thin. They released a press release that you can see here on the screen, but in particular, I'm going to read one section, the only section that matters. The rest of it's just like typical press release rah-rah stuff. And they say, the upcoming Polar wearable will not only be the brand's first screen-free wrist device, but it will also be a subscription-free alternative to other health bands and fitness trackers on the market. This new device introduces a fresh, liberating way to stay in tune with your sleep, activity, health, and fitness without the weight, bulk, or distraction of traditional wearables. By limiting the need for a screen, this new category of wearables captures accurate insights and data in the background without intruding on the user's daily lives, blending seamlessly into their routines as they go about their day. Users can check their stats and progress whenever it suits them, staying connected to their sleep, activity, health, and fitness without it demanding your attention, their attention. Not, yours, theirs. Anyways, you get the point. So they're describing a Whoop-like band, and they're describing their own Polar 360 band. Now, I did ask Polar whether or not they were just going to repurpose their existing 360 band, and they refused to comment, which brings me kind of the second thing here. This is a peculiar announcement, and it's peculiar for a bunch of reasons. One, companies don't typically announce things 2.5 months in advance, especially with such limited details. There are certainly some categories that do that, but not in this space. That is exceptionally rare. So this feels like a bit of a competitor block. You could use a different word if you wanted to there, which is totally fine. And we've seen, of course, Whoop announce their Whoop 5.0 and MG bands about a month and a half ago. Full review almost done there. We've seen Amazfit announce their band in conjunction with Hyrox. I suspect at some point they'll probably announce a non-Hyrox version, and that doesn't have a subscription. So you have Whoop with a subscription, the Amazfit current situation without a subscription, and then we've seen rumors of other companies announcing other sort of activity and whatever type bands as well. So this feels a lot to me like Polar saying, hey, we're not ready yet, but we will be ready soon, so don't forget about us. And that would make a ton of sense, except I think they're missing two key details to complete this competitor block for the summer. Number one is the name, and the reason is that in future reviews, I'll be talking about the Whoop band and other devices, and I would think I would want to say, hey, the Polar XYZ is coming in September, and so definitely check out and wait for that. But I can't say that. I can just simply say the Polar something, but we don't know what something is coming in September, which again feels like a search engine and general marketing like fail there to not simply have a name that you can assign to this thing. The second piece is the price. And now I can see them holding back on this a little bit, mainly because they probably don't know what the heck the price is going to be in the US in particular with the ever-changing tariff situation, but I think they could at least like ballpark it. So the existing Polar 360 device, for context here, if you were a business and wanted to purchase just one of them, it would be 90 euros plus tax. So we're talking, under 100 euros here roughly, which is an incredibly good deal. And there was no subscription cost for that. So I have a user here that bought like literally two of them for him and his coworker, and that's it. And so it was 90 euros plus tax, and then it pulls into the regular Polar Flow platform. It's as simple as that. Now, would Polar offer that at the consumer side for that same price? Probably not. If I was Polar, I would probably do something between 149 and 199 would be my guess here. Euros, dollars doesn't really matter in this context, but something in that price range. Obviously, if they did 99, that would be astounding, but I can't imagine they would do that. And from a financial standpoint, I would think that'd be a poor business move, but hey, I'm not necessarily the financial guru here. I'm just simply saying with the competitive landscape and Polar's branding and premium and all that kind of fun stuff. But given the fact they aren't charging a subscription cost and have confirmed that for the future, that makes things incredibly interesting. Now, again, we still have like 75 days until they announce this thing. A couple key things I'll be looking for. Obviously, the price that we just talked about. Number two, if they've done anything with the Polar Flow app for this launch. Up until now, users are using the existing Polar Flow app just as is. And that's fine. I think everyone agree the Polar Flow app at this point in time is really outdated and pretty cumbersome and really not ideal for this sort of thing. It works, yes, but it's not ideal. And I think Polar really needs to focus on updating their app, not just for this device, but honestly, all their devices. And I know people always have preferences as to which apps they prefer, but I don't think there's any debate that this thing feels dated at this point in time. Like it's, no matter which design language you choose, this is a dated design user interface language, etc. And more than the dated feel, it's just not easy to find all the stats of today's devices. Things like HRV values, etc. are all buried down way deep in the menus, and it's not doing a good job at bubbling those up. So anyways, that piece there, whether or not the app will be updated. Obviously then some of the battery specs and things like that. We have the Whoop MG and Whoop 5.0 devices getting 14 days or claimed 14 days. And in my testing, they're legit 14 days. Like it's actually impressive. I will give Whoop props on that particular item that they are at least hitting their numbers there, despite having, of course, that crazy subscription cost. And then finally, the features. Now, they've got almost everything already outlined today in terms of sleep, activity, sport tracking, etc., all without that screen. But again, how that might actually bubble up in terms of a final product and what that branding will be remains to be seen there. Either way, I am super excited to see this product. As I've said repeatedly for the last year, I felt like Polar was missing their biggest business opportunity in a decade by just waiting and waiting and waiting on this thing. And it's good to hear they're finally doing it. Almost finally doing it. So I'm looking forward to that. Stay tuned in the summer for plenty more sports tech goodness, and of course, including the Polar unnamed band. With that, have a good one.